As you can see, the best dressed electrical cable wear these days. Completely jammed and stuck and won't come. So I'm going to try and get that back. Ah, there it is. Found you, you bagger. So I just need to get this plastic off and yes, well, you didn't see that behind me, that's fine. Good morning on this wet and horrible day. So we're back at this job where I've been doing the EICR. So just to explain, this is a job that's going to go on for some time. We are basically the business is a florist, and the lady is wanted to convert the garage into a bit of a workshop, so she's not doing all this indoors. See behind me, there's no power now to the garage, so that's a light that doesn't work. There's no sockets in here either, so as you probably notice, I've already pulled through the 2.5mm cable, and we've been trying to find where it went, and we've not been able to until yesterday. Then we realised that this house is actually built on a suspended floor, something that, you know, for a 1950s house is actually quite unusual. At that point they were converting over to concrete floors, solid floors. This one isn't. This one actually has it's suspended on the ground floor on brick piers, about 7 to 8 bricks high. It's enough for you to crawl under, so I'm going caving today. So we think, because we couldn't work out why my super rods were just going and going and going and going. You know, we thought, well, we're going so far, we're ending next door. And then they got stuck. So currently all my super rods are stuck in the conduit which her late father installed. Now it only runs 1.5 meters, but fairly obviously what's happened is they've gone through into the void under the lounge, under the kitchen diner, and they've got stuck under there. So yeah. I've already sent my little Ferret camera by Superod down there, but I've not been able to see too much, so I'm going to put a big light down there to see what I can find. And hopefully it is what we think, and the Superod there I can pull through and bring out, because I don't need it anymore. The consumer unit is in the centre of the house, so we're going to have to run, we've had to run a new cable anyway because of what's going on. So let me just fill you in. Basically we're going to run power to the garage, and that power is then going to power a summer house, a hot tub and garden lights. So hence the reason why 2.5 2.5 cable just wasn't going to work with that. It's not enough power to be delivered through that cable. So we're running a 4mm cable. We know that's going to work, that's fine. I'm going to explain all the calculations that I've done to work out why the 4mm cable is absolutely fine. I'll do that in either a separate video, or I'll do it as part of this one later. Suffice to say, all the calculations have come out that a 4mm cable running into here on a 40 amp breaker will give us all the power we need for the garage, the summer house and the hot tub and the lights. The hot tub is an inflatable one, 13 amp, so it's not it is 2.5 kilowatts, but we'll go from there. I'll explain all that later. Anyway, the other thing that obviously the lady would like is some sort of network access. Now we could have used the wireless, because she's got wireless in the main house, but the garage is separate, so is the summer house is a fair distance down the garden. Wireless probably isn't going to be reliable, so we're going to be hardwiring in the network back to her router in the house, and we're going to hardwire it in the same cable. How, you may ask? Well, basically we're going to use an EV cable from Doncaster cables, and actually in the cable, which I'll show you in a second, is actually shielded twisted pair. Now, for anybody who doesn't know networks, basically it's a network cable. Okay, it's an Ethernet cable, but it's shielded, which means it won't get any electrical interference from the cable. Normally, if you look at the guide, you're supposed to separate data cables and electrical cables. In this case, you don't have to because it's shielded, so there'll be no electromagnetic interference on the cable, so it's absolutely fine. Now, it's normally used with EV because obviously you need some sort of control with EV chargers and things like this, but this we're going to be using to hardwire the internet. It's actually rated a Cat 5 cable. These days you're normally using Cat 6, maybe even Cat 7. Cat 5 will be absolutely adequate for this. Putting on my network engineering hat, before I was an electrician I was a network engineer for 30 years, so I do know what I'm doing with the data cables. However, it means I'm going to have to split the testing into two. There'll be testing for the electrical cable, and then there'll be testing for the twisted pair cable. Now that's it's exactly the same, it's continuity, but I'm testing continuity of data, not continuity of electricity. If anyone says, well, basically it's the same thing, yeah, I know it's the same thing, but anyway, you know, data signals is basically electrical impulses. I know that, that's fine. Anyway, so yeah, let's see if I can find this cable. Just give me a sec. So anyway, so let's come down here. So here we are. So it is a Hi-Tuff cable. So it's not SWA, but it's Hi-Tuff. If you can see in there, I don't know whether you can probably see in there, but you can see it's a 3-core 4mm. But also there you can see another cable. Hopefully you can see it. That is the network cable. That's the twisted pair cable that's in there. Okay. So, like I say, I'm using Hi-Tuff from Doncaster cables. It's rated, I've been using NYY cable, but this cable is rated at 90 degrees, which means it can carry more current, as opposed to NYY, which is only 70 degrees, which can't carry as much current. I'll put on in the video a table that this relates to. So this is rated, I think, 44 or 47 amps in free air, if I remember rightly, I can't remember which. So a 40 amp breaker, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, so as I say, 44, 47 amps. It's only going underground for 1.5 meters from the garage under a very short piece of patio into the main house. Then it's in free air in the underneath the floor. You know, in the basement I was talking about. So I'm taking the free air calculations for this. It shouldn't be a problem. Now nobody's going down there, so I'm not going to be attaching it to the beams under the floor. I probably don't think it's probably a good idea anyway. So it's just going to run free under the cable, under the floor, and then up to the consumer board. In here, it's going to run into a larger whisker box rated at 40 amps. One of the bigger whisker boxes I've actually used, with 25mm cutouts. So that'll be on the wall. I'm then going to strip the cable back because I need the network cable to go somewhere else. So I need that to be terminated and joined to another network cable which will run elsewhere in the garage. The bare wires will then run from that whisker box up a 25mm conduit into the consumer board, which I'm going to put into here. Now I'm using a Niglon board instead of fuse box or other makes, mainly because I've got tons of Niglon circuit breakers. So I might as well use them. So there's going to be a 4-way box being put into here with a main switch. It doesn't need to be RCD protected because the circuit is already RCD protected back in the house. So that's basically what we're doing. So right now I'm going to video what's going on underground. So we're going to go underground, run this cable, and then we can go from there. So here is the conduit which her late father put in. That runs for 1.5 meters into the floor. As you can see, this is my Superod, which is completely jammed and stuck and won't come. So I'm going to try and get that back. Anyway, so we'll try and get that back, and we'll work from there. So I just want to show you. This is the. Whoopsie, hang on. This is the twin and earth cable which is already put in. So when I was doing my EICR, that's why I stripped it back. I was trying to work out, is this actually connected to anything, and it turned out it wasn't, and we've pulled it all back, and we've pulled it all back. It's right here on the floor. So we're going to mount the consumer unit up here, probably around 1400 mil. I think that's what the regulations say, if I remember correctly. So we're going to mount it there directly above that. So the junction box will go there, the consumer board will go there. We're replacing this old fluorescent with an LED, 6-foot LED, which is here. Put it there. In fact, there's all my conduit. So we're fitting, that's a 25mm conduit, by the way. So we're going to fit the junction box there, 25mm conduit up to the consumer unit. Then we're going to be running probably 2 conduits, 1.5mm to the light and 2.5mm to the socket. That's where this part of the project will then end. The garden is in that direction, so when that part of the project starts, we're just going to run, we'll run more Doncaster cable, the same type of cable actually, because we'll need Ethernet into the summer house. So we'll run that into the garden, into the summer house, and then, like I say, there'll be another consumer unit there which will control everything else. Again, doesn't need to be RCD protected because it's all RCD protected back to the house. Yeah, so today's job probably is going to be running this cable back to the consumer unit in the house. I'm not quite sure how much more I'm going to get done after that. It really depends on how easy it's going to be to route this cable. But like I say, we'll go underground and we'll see how we go. Right, just to correct myself earlier on, that Doncaster cable is Cat 5e. I think I mentioned it was Cat 5. It isn't, it's Cat 5e, which means it's capable of 1000 megabit per second, which is a gigabit per second cable it's capable of. So that's absolutely fine. Cat 5 is 10 times slower than Cat 5e. Cat 5 is considered obsolete cable standard these days. So Cat 5e, absolutely no problem with this. It's rated at, what I say, 1 gigabit over 100 meters, and then we're not going to be using 100 meters here. As you can see, what the best dressed electrical cable wear these days. Okay, so been in here before, haven't we? So there's the consumer board. The cable's running down. That cable there goes to the conservatory, and the main incoming lines is here. And this is what we're dealing with. So this is what I mean by this being a suspended floor. So there's a brick pier. You can see it's quite a way down. Now, so this is the hole I've got to go down. Now, back there, it's a bit difficult to see, but as you can see, you might be able to see that there's another brick pier over there, and then there's a gap. And that gap actually then runs underneath the kitchen, and in that direction is where the garage is. And I'm hoping that's where the Superod has come out. Now, I'm going to stick a light down there and hopefully illuminate things down there a bit, so that we can get down under there and get that cable pulled. There we go. Let's try again. Ah, there it is. Found you, you bagger. There you are. Found it. Found you. At last. You're right over there. Now the question is... Yeah, right. Thought I'd just quickly show you what I'm having to deal with down here. There you can see that's the cable. Finally can't pull through. Oh, well, I need to pull through a bit more. Right, so let's get down the hole. There really isn't. Oh, flipping heck. there really isn't a lot of room out down here. As you see, I've been using my Superod. There's the cable. This is what we're having to deal with down here. Now, up there, through there, is still the Superod. Still stuck, and I still don't know how the hell I'm going to get it out. But here's the cable. We've managed to do that. I managed to do this. This is the important thing. I don't know how I'm going to get hold of those. The Superod. I really don't. That's going to take a bit of thought. But I'm going to push through the rest of this cable because that's the important thing. If I've lost the Superods, I've lost the Superods. I'll just have to go down to experience. Hopefully I haven't, but holy moly, there's not a lot of room down there. Right. Well, after much thought, much pulling, much sparing, we had the cable through. Now, at this end, it isn't going to get cabled up and connected up to the main board for a little while, maybe a day or two, while I do the wiring in the garage. There's no point wiring this up to the main board until that's done anyway. So I'm going to have a think about how to route the cable at this end, make it neat. Yeah, I'm going to have a think about how we do that. We'll come up through there, so that's fine, and then onto the board. But yeah, I might have a think about how we clip that, because I can't do anything down under the floor over there. But yeah, I'll have a think about how we do that. So, but yeah, well, that was a nightmare. And we still haven't, as I say, we still haven't got the Superods back. I'm going to have a think about that, because there's about, how many are there? 4 or 5 lengths of Superod down there, which I really could do with getting back. Anyway, we'll do a bit of tidying up, I think, and then I'm going to have a ponder. Okay, so after the fun and games of yesterday, the Superods are still there. So we're going to start terminating and getting this cable ready for the consumer board, which was supposed to be arriving today, and I've just been told it isn't. It's arriving tomorrow, which is brilliant. Now, the regs say that a consumer board should be roughly 1500 millimetres off the floor. That roughly runs in line with the top shelf of this cabinet, so roughly that line of bricks. So that's where we're going to mount it. Now, I've unpacked the light from Knightsbrige. It's I believe it's a 6-foot light. I can't remember now, but I think it's a 6-foot light LED. 20mm cutouts, which I've already set a connector already in place. I can't remember the lumens. I'll look it up, or I'll put it on the video. But for a room this size, you need 6,000 lumens for a room of this size, really, if you're going to be working in here, which they're going to be. So it's going to go where that light is. So my plan is to remove that light, and then I'm going to run conduit out of there, probably along that beam, straight down to the box. That's the plan. And then I've got to fit a light switch and socket by the workshop, by the desk, just down there. So I'm going to have to run. So there's going to be 3 conduits going into this. There'll be the main one, which is that one heading up. Then there'll be 2 others. One to the light and the switch, and the other one going to the sockets, and obviously there'll be a 4th one eventually that'll run to the garden. So I've just got to bear that in mind when I'm planning out which holes I'm going to be knocking out of the board. Now, it's a bit of a shame the board's not arriving today. That's a bit of a bummer. So what I'm going to do is get the junction box on there, strip the cable to the right length, because I'll know roughly where the distribution board's going, so I can roughly get the cabling the right length to there. Probably remove the light today. Probably remove the light, bright light. Yeah, probably remove that light today. Get the new one on in the right position, and maybe start running the conduit out to the socket. Maybe mount the socket on the wall, because that can be done. That's not a problem. Maybe the socket and the switch I can mount onto the walls, because that's not a problem, because they're going to be where they're going to be. So yeah. Yes. Anyway, so we're going to do that. Now, I don't have to, given we're in a garage, but I'm going to stick to the regs. So I'm going to mount the sockets 150mm above this worktop, because that's where they're supposed to be. I think the light switch is probably a good idea to be here. I think it makes logical sense. I've just realised we've got a couple of issues here. We've got that shelving in it, but look, just like the other garage, we've got these here and another one there. Right, so we're going to have to find a... yes. Yeah, going to have a clever think about how we're going to do this. Yeah. Okay, as per usual with all the electrical jobs, we're on plan Z by now. Right, we've run into a few issues. I hadn't noticed that, yet again, we've got these brick piers, so I can't go straight across as I'd have liked. So, and also, the brick has blown out so much there that it's just not possible to mount the junction box I want to mount. So, what I'm going to do, my plan is, hence the laser level, we're going to mount the junction box at the bricks. You can see there where my finger shadow is. So we're going to mount the junction box there. We're then going to run, because I've got enough of this cable. We're not going to mount the consumer board here. We're going to mount it down the other end, and I'll show you where. So we're going to mount the junction box here. Then the cable is going to run this way through the wall, and we're going to mount the consumer board on this piece of brickwork here. The cable will come in and go in through the bottom into this. That's done. Later, when the garden cable has to come down, the garden cable will come back, go parallel with this cable back through the brickwork, back into that junction box the first time, and go straight out the back of the garage. Really will look neat and tidy, I think, to be honest. Saves me doing set work like I did at the other garage, and some other bits and pieces as well. So, down here we have the socket already mounted in the right place, 150mm above the board. That's where that's going. Now, lights. So the light is going to be mounted here. We're having a Quinetic switch, switching receiver somewhere up there. That means I don't have to run any cabling to the light switch, and the light switch can be mounted then anywhere. That'll make this all nice and neat. So in the consumer board, just to recap, it's actually not far off the shadow of my phone. It's about that big. So it'll sit about there. So in the bottom will come in, there'll be two cables eventually coming in the bottom, one from the power from the house, one power going to the garage, garden. The other one coming down will go to the socket, and out the top will go the power for the light. And I think that will do the job nicely. So I need a 25mm inspection bend there to run 25mm conduit up here to this junction box. Now these 40 amp whisker boxes, are 25mm cutout. So and that's a 25mm conduit going into the wall. So this is all going to work out really nice. So what I'm going to do, because this cable, as it currently stands, won't bend to that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the cable back and then run it as if I'm running singles up this 25mm and into the box. And then inside the box there are 40 amp screw terminals, and then I'll run the cable then this way. I think that's a simple way of doing it. I think, yeah, I think that's the easiest way to solve this problem, I think. Right, so I think we're starting to get there now. The planning's gone a bit awry, but we're getting there now. So we're going to. The beauty of these Stanley laser levels, I love these things. So it's perfectly straight, perfectly level. A couple of metal saddles in place, and that's the bend. Now we're going to bend that up and go around this block, and then hopefully the board is arriving tomorrow. Get the board mounted up, and then we can get that in, and then that part of it's all done, and then we can connect up the rest of it. So yeah, a couple of minor problems today to try and solve, but we're getting there at last. Okay, so here we are again. So I'm going to be stripping that cable, put a bend on, which I've got. You can see I've got my laser level done, sitting on my camera tripod at the moment, as you can see. So that's all set up nice and horizontally, and that's going to be going through. I'm going to be drilling a hole through there in a minute, so that's going to be fun. Unfortunately, the consumer board still hasn't arrived. It's stuck in parcel force at the moment, which is a bit of a pain. So we'll just have to go with what we've got here, get that all in. But once I've done that, I'm going to be a bit stuck until that board arrives. But anyway, we'll see what we get on today. Okay, so I thought I'd just show you what this cable looks like inside. So we've stripped it down, and give you an idea, that is what I used to strip it. So that blade there, right the way along, same with the white inner protection, and then that on the end to do that on the end. Work to treat. So I mean, that's on a 4mm Doncaster cable, so I don't know how it would work, whether it would work on the 6mm, but it certainly worked on a 4. Anyway, so here's what it looks like on the inside. You think it's plastic, which runs all the way up, which I'm going to have to move, and then you've got basically you've got your line, your neutral, your earth, and the grey you see there is the Cat 5e cable, which if anyone who works in networking will instantly recognise as a standard. All they've done is they've put a standard shielded cable in there. So I just need to get this plastic off and yes, well, you didn't see that behind me, that's fine. Okay, so we've got the pipe on there. That's really, really tight, so I'm not going to put a saddle on there. That's not moving for anybody. So you can see I've got the cables all stripped there. That's the first leg of the cable going through there, the Hi-Tuff cable going through there. I could have put a gland on there, but this is the reducer, by the way. It's a 25 down to a 20. This bit is so tight into here. If you have a look, I've actually got it there. It's so tight into there, it's not going anywhere. Plus that this is a cable that doesn't, well, I could gland it. I could, maybe I will in the future, but at the moment that is sufficient. There's nothing going to get in there. It's well and truly in there. That's going nowhere. So that's properly really, really tight. There's no way anything can get into that. So yeah, so that's all nice and neatly done now. So that's all nicely put through there. I'm happy with that. Don't need to do anything further with that because I've now got to cleat these up. By the way, just for information, these are number 6 cleats. the outside diameter of this cable is 14.8 millimeters, if I remember rightly. So yeah, number 6 cleats work on this really well. Well, good morning on this incredibly wet day today. So the consumer board has finally arrived, and here she is. Now, as I mentioned, we're going with the Niglon one only because I had loads of spare Niglon parts from a previous job. So I thought, well, I might as well just go with the case and just use up the circuit breakers I've got. And it just turns out I have actually populated it, so I could just bring it over. So we've got a main switch, 32, 16 and 6. Now that 16 is going to be switched out for a 20 for the radial, and that's the lights. We've got a nice metal blanking plate. They're not bad, these boards, so wouldn't be my first choice, if I'm honest, to go to, but you know, they're alright, they're not bad. There's plenty of room inside, which I'll show you in a minute. So I've already started to prepare it. So we've got a 20mm on that one, there's a 25mm hole, which I'll do in a minute for the Hi-Tuff cable, and out the top there's a 20mm that's going to the light. That will go to the lighting circuit. That's going to go to the radial sockets. As I say, that's going to Hi-Tuff, and later there's another 25mm cutout. Whoa, here it is. So that will go to the outside world as and when we do it. Hence the reason for the 32 amp circuit breaker. So yeah, that main switch can be over here, but the way it's done inside, actually it makes more sense because I'm not bringing tails in. I'm bringing 4mm cables into here. There's enough room for them to be nice and neatly snaked up and round and into the top of this at that end. If it's at this end, it actually pulls the neutral cable tight because the neutral bar's here, and it doesn't look very nice. So I'm going to leave the main switch there and then just neatly bend the cables into it on that end. So I don't think that'll be a problem really. So anyway, I'll show you what's inside it, and we'll go from there. So here we are on the inside. As you say, it's got a nice amount of room there, nice amount of room here. Nice solid bars. As you can see, the bus bar is all the way covered. We've got a spare one there. Nice length of neutral. It's very nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is actually quite nice. At the back you've got your torque settings. So yeah, on the whole, to be fair, it's not bad. The only thing I'll say is getting spares for this is not easy. There's only 1 or 2 companies I've found that actually supply these, which is a shame. If anyone knows the places you can get hold of Niglon spares and MCBs and so on, please let me know in the comments, because I've only found 1 or 2 distributors who do. So anyway, this is going there. So what I have bought, and I think this is going to look really, really nice, is I've bought this from Screwfix, which is a set of white capped screws. Nice wide heads, which will mean I won't need to put in washers on this one. So yeah, got that from Screwfix. I think that will do really nice for all the jobs I'm doing. Nice white head screws. I know it's hidden inside, but you know, I think that's going to do a nice little job there. So oops, I need to drop the phone. Woo! So yeah, so we've got to get that, as you can see, that's all been done there. That needs to be brought up and over there. As you can see, this cable's now been brought over, but it needs to be attached to the wall, which means I've got to move it like this. So we'll see how we get on today. Unfortunately, because it's chucking it down with rain, I can't get everything out of the garage onto the driveway, which is what I'd like to have done. So this is going to take a bit longer than I thought, because I'm going to have to move things as and when I need to move them, rather than emptying the garage out, which is a shame. But unfortunately, I've got to go to an emergency job tomorrow because of a flooded house. Luckily, the electrics, most of it's on. It's just some of the lights have failed, so that'll have to be tomorrow. Anyway, we'll see how far we get today. Okay, so here we are. I've stripped it all out. It's nice to have a consumer board. You can actually strip it completely. So all I need to do is, that's quite light now, so that's going to be easier to put on the board. yeah, so we'll get that done. I'm going to mount it directly to the brickwork. There's no need for me to put it on wood or anything else, so yeah, we'll get that directly on the brick. Right, now normally when I'm doing this I do glue the PVC joints on occasion. Most of the time I don't, because the saddles actually hold everything into place and they're not going to come apart. But here, no, I've had to resort to the glue because I can't get saddles on in this area. My fault, I should have thought about that. Of course, you potentially need to do a set there to get it to sit right. So I've had to glue those joints into place so that they don't actually move. Now it's screwed into there and it's all held into place along there, so it isn't going to move anywhere, especially now I've glued it, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, so yeah, it's not going to move anywhere. By rights I should have a saddle probably about there-ish. Like I say, I've not left myself enough room to put a set in, which was very silly of me. But like I say, that is not going anywhere. Once that glue dries, that is going, yep, that's going nowhere. That's fine. Right, so next bit, I've got two choices really. I can reassemble the board so that it's all nice and neat and done, or I can start running the 2.5mm cables down to the socket. There's enough room in that board for me to do things with, so what I might do, I might just reassemble the DIN rail with the main switch. I think I'll leave the MCBs off, and then I've got enough room to play around with. And then we need to do the next bit, which is this bit. Now, I've realised, or remembered, that I've got to strip this cable back to a junction box because of the Cat 5e cable. It has to go somewhere else and it can't go anywhere near the that consumer unit. So I'm going to put a junction box about there-ish. Strip the cable back, 25mm PVC conduit up to that 25mm connector, adapter rather, sorry, and then into the board. And then in the junction box I'll tie off the network cable, and that'll be done separately. I'll run the network cable separately. But I've just put the cover on it here, it's pretty much spot on. I'm happy with that, and then I've just got the main switch back in and the DIN rail, just to keep that out of the way while I do the next bit. So that's on, so we've now got to do the next bit. Okay, so let me show you what we've got done. So, all cleated, back to there, past that. along here into the junction box. In the junction box, now why have I done a junction box? Because we've got twisted pair cable, and that twisted pair cable is then going to go to the desk. I didn't want it going into the box, so I've stripped the cable back. So you've got a 25mm gland there, 25mm PVC conduit into the box, and there you go. There's my 4mm line, neutral and CPCs ready to roll. So yeah, so that junction box in there, the twisted pair cable is all wrapped up in there. I've not cut that down, I've just wrapped it up in there, just for the time being. But my guess is it's probably going to run nicely out of there, along there, and then we'll terminate it at a point above the desk. So yeah, I'm pleased with all that. I'm gonna put a 25mm gland on the other end, I've decided. So I might do that next. And then that's done. And then I just need to run the 2.5mm cable down to the radial. Okay, as you can see, I changed my mind at this end, so I've glanded that as well, same as the other end. So that's really is now nice and neat and tidy. Okay, so let's say that's the 4mm. Just turn the light off just so I don't need that one. There's the 2.5s and the 1.5s for the radial, going down its loop, around the band, and out of there. So I'm all ready for dead testing. Back to the house now. I need to obviously strip the cable at the other end. But yeah, I'm all ready to do dead testing on this bit. Yeah. Okay, so I've hooked that all up through the box. So that's all going back to the house now. This is all hooked up. So I'm doing a dead test, R1, R2 to the radial. I'm going to get a high reading on this. Yeah, 0.02 on the R1, R2 there. That's not really much of a surprise. I have to do the insulation resistance test, really. So I'll do that in a minute. Yep. Okay. Oh, wow. There we go. Okay, so we're indoors now. So just sorted this cable out. So it's running. Where are we running? I've lost it. So cable's running behind the bonding. There's only one bonding in this house. Yeah, that's right. So we've got the cleaner black cable is the one coming from the garage. The other one you can see is the main incoming electricity supply. So I've got it tucked behind there, then running along there behind all these bunches of cables. Up there. Now I was going to use those end two, but I can't use those because they're going to be in the way. So we're going to have to. I think we're going to have to come up to make it neat through that one. Oh, forget my finger in the way. I think we're going to have to come up through there into the box, and I was going to use a junction box, but I think I can get away with not using it now. I think I could get away with just taking it straight in. A 25mm gland should probably, if that's a 25mm hole, a 25mm gland should probably do it. I don't think that is a 25mm hole now, looking at it. Yeah. I need to get my tape measure out and find out what that is. Anyway, it'll go up through there, one way or another. I'll try and find something that'll fit there. So I'll bring that in, and the network bring that in. The networking part of it will then come back down through that hole that's not in there at all. And then that's going to go, in the future, will go to a wireless extender to extend the network out to the garage and the summer house. Okay, so we're getting the cabling done in the house now, so I'll show you that in a second. But we've got to a point now where I can do the dead test on the circuit back to the house now. We've done the, I showed you earlier on, we've done the R1, R2 test on the radial, that came out 0.02. I've done the installation resistance on that circuit, that's fine. I've just done the installation resistance on the line going back to the house, that's also fine. So what I need now is the the right cable. Just give me a second. Those ones there. Hang on, sorry, I wasn't even in the screen there. So I'm just going to get these cables here. These 1, 2, 3 cables. Oh God, I'm not in shot. Try again. So these 1, 2, 3 cables here. These are the ones going back to the house. I've forgotten I haven't stripped them. So I'll just get my stripper, strip those back, and I can do my R1, R2 here. I'll short those out, and I'll do the reading in the house, and we'll see what we come up with. I know by now I'm probably teaching people to suck eggs, but I like to document it anyway. So there you go, so we're on the R1, R2, so we're shorting it here, and then we're going to do it up at the other end. I know normally when you're doing first fix and things like this, you do it a different way, but because I'm doing this cable's going back to the house, and I've got access to everything, I might as well just do the cable before I hook it up into the board. No difference, to be honest, not from my point of view anyway. So anyway, so that's done. So let's wander back to the house. So here we are, so we're all stripped back. I'll just quickly show what I've done. So I've neatened all that up, and I've given myself a nice route for the for the cable to run up into that 32mm gland. Okay, so my hook's up here. Let's just do a quick continuity check. This won't be right because I haven't nulled the leads yet. But we're getting a continuity reading of 0.44, so let's null those leads. Those leads nulled. Let's do that again. 0.1. There we go. So we've got a run of about 10 metres of cable. Yeah, it's about 10 metres of cable. So 4mm cable, 10 metres. I'll work that out later, but that sounds to me about right. Okay, a quick update then. So 4mm cables all in. Nice tucked behind there. I'll dress those in a second. So 32mm gland. There's the cable going to the garage. This is the Cat 5e cable that's inside here. So you can see it doesn't go in there. It wraps itself around in there and comes back out. So it's going nowhere near the board. So this isn't live, and I'll label it as such. So that's how that's come through. That's come through there, and that's all nicely tightened up. So we'll get these the right length and get them in the board, and then we can close this board up. Okay, so we're all done in the house, we're all done here. I've tried to dress that as neatly as I can. It's a bit odd when you've only got one circuit going at the moment. So anyway, so just to take you through it, so these are the incoming 4mm into the main switch. Again, like I said, it's RCD protected in the house. Earth from the mains, for the main feed. Position 2s for the position 2s for the neutrals and the earths, CPC, sorry. Position 2, I know that's a 16, I've got a 20 on order, it should be here today, so that's being switched out. 32 is going out to the, or will go out to the summer house, hot tub and everything else. and 6 is for the light, which I'm hoping to get done today. So next test is to get this, or put the bus bar protector back on. We get the bus bar protector on, all the dead tests are done, everything's passed, all the dead tests. So now I need to get the power on, and we will do the live tests. Now obviously I've done the live tests on the main board as part of the EICR. I probably need to do the same live tests here. Certainly I'm going to need to do the RCD test, but we'll do that in a second. Right, so we're successful on the power, and I've possibly tested, but anyway, so we're all tested, it's all up and we're powered up. I know I've done the RCD test already as part of the EICR. I always like to retest the RCD from the point that I've done a new circuit. Do you have to? I don't know, but I like to do it. Maybe it's an additional step that maybe not everyone does, but I just want to make sure that everything I've done works. I know I've got the electricity, all the dead tests have worked, all the live tests have so far worked. I just for belt and braces, I just like to retest the RCD is going to work if there was a fault out here. So let's start it. Oh, let's turn the power on, that helps. There you go, so you see, 235 volts. So we'll start the test. I've done this in previous videos, you know, I'm not going to show it all, but I'll just start it off. That's fine, that's on the half. That's on the half. .2.8, that's a pass. So we'll go into the house now and we'll check it. Right, let's make sure this is all working. We should have somewhere on there. There we are, there's the LCD. Let's turn it back on. Okay, let's go and check the readings. Okay, let's see what it's saying. Pass, 32.8, 40.8, 10.8 and 13.6. That's absolutely fine. Got a feeling those readings are actually slightly higher than they were before, which is interesting, but then I'm further away. Okay, but it works, so I'm happy that's a fully working and fully tested circuit. So now, as you can see, this is all done now, it's all wired up. I've got to label up the main board. I'm not too worried about labelling it up too much at the moment, because obviously I've got an EICR to finish once the isolator's been fitted. But what we've got to do now is I've got to work out how to get that down and get the lighting circuit in place. That's my next job. Oh yeah, before anybody asks, yeah, I'm well aware of this. When I replace that 16 amp breaker for a 20, I'm going to have to redo my R1, R2 tests, just to make sure everything's still fine, because it went to 0.02, but obviously a 20 amp breaker is going to have a different ZS on it, so I will need to redo that R1, R2 test when I've done that. Just like I mentioned it. I'll just show you where we're up to. So we're going to use the Quinetic system to do these lights, same as like running loads of cables to switches and things. So we've managed to mount the Quinetic receiver on the board. Now actually inside there, as you can see, it's line and neutral, line and neutral. Now what I've actually managed to do is I've actually put a Wago in there to keep the earth continuous right the way through to the light, because the light fitting actually does need an earth cable fitting to it. So that's the only way I could think of doing it. So I've actually fitted a Wago in there to join that cable to that cable. If anyone knows another way of doing that, please stick it in the comments and let me know. Now, I've had some real fun and games as to how I'm going to be running this. So as you can probably notice at the top, I've changed that for a gland. So I'm running a 1.5 cable now out of there, and then there's 1.5 cable that's going to loop round up the wall, and then along the beam to where the light's going to be, which is about there, where the old light is. Now, I don't want to run cable freely across there, so what I've actually managed to do is I fabricated a conduit to go around that bend, and you'll see that when I've done it. So that the only thing along here will be 1.5mm cable with metal fastenings up there, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to run just 1.5mm just up this section of wall. The reason for that is you can see this wooden batten going across there. There's no way I'll be able to get a conduit over that. Well, I could, but it'll be a pain in the neck. So that's what I've come up with that. So I'm going to terminate that into the box, and then we can go from there. Here we are again. So redone that because I wasn't happy with the way it was. So we've redone that. Now I've been doing a bit of thinking about how I'm doing this cable. I know that some people don't like doing this, is hammering these clips into the mortar because they can be pulled out, but we're in an area where this isn't going to get any sort of attention really, to be honest with you. However, I am experimenting with a little idea I've seen online whereby you can't hit these into brick, they'll just break. So something I saw online, I'll just grab one if I can find it. There it is. So these little wooden dowels, these are 6mm by 30mm, and I've already drilled a couple of holes, one there and one there, with a 5mm SDS drill bit, so 1mm smaller than that. I've already done one, which is that one there, and then hammered the nail into the wooden dowel. So I'm going to do that with those two. I've got to kind of bend in, wiggle it so I can get up onto that board to get across to the light. So I'm going to try that, and then try that and bring that over. So if that works, we'll get those in and we'll see how we go. Right, so I've lost it there. So one nicely in there, one nicely in there. Word of warning, bang them in gently, otherwise they break, and they bend and you have to pull them out. So just hit them in gently, because obviously the hole is smaller than the dowel. They go in, and let's see if we can get the nail in and the clips in. I'd call that a success. Yeah, I'd call that a success. So there you go, little tip if you're trying to bang these into brickwork and you don't want to go into the mortar. 6mm by 30mm wooden dowels. I believe you can get them in plastic if you're doing this outdoors, but you wouldn't be doing 2.5 outdoors, would you? And a 5mm SDS drill bit, and works a treat. As I say, just be careful banging the dowels into the wall with the hammer. Just be gentle, don't go hammer and tongs at it. I'm going to break them, so just be gentle. It takes a bit longer, I admit, but this thing ain't coming off the wall now. So there you go. So we've got the you're going to like this. So we've got the old light fitting down with a bit of help on my better half, and she's not around this afternoon, so I've basically yeah, don't laugh. But I've got to mount that so that I can mount the light onto it so it's properly done. So I'm back to just running the cable now without conduit. But that, I thought, that's just about done it right, so I can do this on my own. So screw that into there, screw that into there, screw that into that batten, and then I can screw all the rest. I'm out of breath. After much swearing, it's up. I just need to hook that up down that end. This is a Knightsbrige 6-foot light, by the way. It's got push fit fittings down the end there. So all I've done is I've just put a gland on the end. Because I've put the wood batten in right the way along. That's a 2.4 metre batten there. I didn't need the conduit after all. So I've run the 1.5 2.5 cable all the way back to the Quinetic box there, and then into the new consumer board. So I think it looks quite neat and tidy. We're in a garage, so those, yeah, they are plastic clips, but we're in a garage separate from the main building, so as far as I am aware, where the regs are concerned, I don't need to put in metal clips. If anyone says it different, please put it in the comments and I'll put a couple of metal ones in. I've got some in the car somewhere, and I'll just replace a couple of them and put some metal ones up for premature collapse, I believe it is. But anyway, so that's up, so I just need to get that plugged into the light over there, and then check it out, and then I need to replace that B16 circuit breaker with the B20 I've got there, and I'm done. Right, so the light's on. There it is, all in place. There we go, all there. I've stripped the RCD in the house because the neutral, I must have touched the neutral and the earth together when I was doing this. So I've tripped it. So I've just taken the opportunity, because the owner's out at the moment, to replace the B16 with the B20 there. That's all been put in, so that's all finished. I just need to put the cover back on the buzz bar and do some labelling. Right, well, as you can see, everything's working. There we go. And we've got the Quinetic switch. Lights off. Lights on. There we go. And there's the Quinetic receiver with the red light on it, showing it. I think you can see the red light on it. Showing that's all sorted. So we've got the dates on there, all done for today, and all labelled up. That B32 is for future, and we've got an extra one on there because there's going to be some outside lights eventually. But as of now, we are done there. Excellent, well pleased. So if you've liked this video, sort of, click on the subscribe button for me. Any comments I'll answer, and we'll see you on the next one.